Why, hello there. Today we're going to talk about my past, present, and future of books. What I've read, what I'm in the middle of, and what we're going to get into. So, here we go. Recently, I just read The Woods All Black by Lee Mandello, and this story focuses on a trans character. Their name is Leslie, and they come to town. He is a he, 1929, but everyone in town obviously calls him a she. Comes to town. He's a nurse. He was actually called there. The council voted on having a nurse come to town to take care of them. He rides in with this guy. His name is Jackson Hansel. He's gonna stay with Hansel's family on their property in this little cabin. And it butts up to the woods, and right behind it, there's this creek called Spar Creek. When he gets to town, he does not receive the warmest of welcomes. Everyone is pretty like standoffish and almost like super like vibe that they don't want them there. And he's trying to figure out like what is going on. This town literally asked for a nurse to come in, usually it hasn't been a problem like going to different towns and traveling around to like make their way in and make friends and this, that, and the other. But this town does not seem to want to. And the problem therein seems to lie with this preacher guy. And this preacher guy, he's all brimstone and hellfire. And there's another teen who they think is going astray, who identifies as Stevie. I don't think they necessarily say it, but they identify as a he. And the town thinks they're going astray by dressing as a man and working in the fields and this, that, and the other. And they want him to, like, be a she or fit their ideals of whatever. And so the preacher's all like trying to put the blame on the nurse. And it's a crazy story. It's also a love story. It's gritty. It's brutal. It's like in your face. I keep reading these books where like these Christians and their Christian ways are just horrible people who use it all as an excuse to be horrible. And it's something you see so much. It's very frustrating to me. Like, as someone who came up in that environment, I don't know if I'm a reformed, like, recovering. Would I be recovering? I've never considered myself religious, but I went to Christian schools growing up, like, recovering freaking religious whatever. So many people just use it to be sacks of crap. This book is great. Frickin' loved it. Love what happens in the end. Preacher Man gets his. Don't tell. I mean, come on. It's a horror book, so it is a fantastic little novella. I flew through it. I like the characters. It's gritty. It's got a really satisfying ending. And it's like all this emotion and grit and just visualness packed into this little novella. And it's absolutely fantastic. What I'm currently reading is How to Solve Your Own Murder by Kristen Perrin. I randomly picked up this book, and it's a mystery. And so it's about this woman, Frances, and when she was a teen, she went to this fair with her two friends, Emily and Rose, and this fortune teller was like, yeah, you're gonna be murdered. I didn't say like that, though. It was like, dry bones in your future. The bird will betray you, blah, 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 blah. But then, like, basically, it's like, yeah, you're gonna be murdered. And so her friends are like, don't believe it. It's all whatever, this, that, and the other. But she believes it. And she spends her whole life focusing on this, gathering evidence of who might possibly betray her and murder her. She doesn't actually end up being murdered until she's, like, in her 60s. And she has called people together. And her niece was actually going to meet her for the first time because her aunt had summoned her, Annie Adams. And before she can meet her, her great Aunt Frances is found dead and murdered. Now, it's up to Annie to try and figure this out. And you have this whole town full of people that could possibly have a motive. And inside of Frances's house, there's this whole like murder room. She's got like a crazy murder room. So like picture Charlie from Always Sunny going all crazy with all the threads and whatever, You have that, there's all these filing cabinets, and it seems like everyone could possibly have a motive. And Frances also ended up being ridiculously rich. So there's this whole estate, and she owns a farm and all this land. You have all this crazy backstory on these different characters. And as you get deeper into it, it's like just the more you get into it, the more suspicious just everyone is. And it's crazy too in this town how like everyone's connection with each other is just, it's almost incestual. It's like town incestualness. Everyone has like dated each other or has some weird connection to each other. And I'm loving it so far. I'm about halfway in. I have no clue who it could be. Absolutely none. In no way, shape, or form am I drawn to thinking it's one person or another, and I'm halfway through, so that's great. I love that. I never want to think it's like the super obvious characters, because that's how they throw you off, right? The really horrible, like, bitchy ones, it's probably never them, because it's too obvious that it should be them, so I usually count those ones out. It's usually like the really nice person you never suspect, right? But then again, sometimes it's like the lukewarm ones that you don't know. I have no idea who it is, but I'm loving it so far. It's so good. It's so good. I hope it continues being so good. I've been all worked up. So good. Flail around like I'm one of those things that's in front of an oil change place. Anyway, so let's talk about what I'm going to get into. Okay, so this next book I picked up because I thought the cover looked super cool. And then there were 2 words featured in it, and I was like, yep, getting that. So it's Rainbow Black by Maggie Thrash, and on the back of this book it says Satanic Panic, and I was like, oh, all right, we're reading this. That's all I really needed to say. Didn't need the rest of the words. But, you know, if you'd like to hear the synopsis, I'm going to tell you about it right now. So here we go. Also, how can you not love the fluorescent pink goat, dude? Lacey Bond is a 13-year-old girl in New Hampshire, growing up in the tranquility of her hippie parents' rural daycare center. Then the satanic panic hits, the summer of 1990, when Lacey's parents are handcuffed, flung into the county jail, and faced with a torrent of jaw-dropping accusations as part of a mass hysteria sweeping the nation. When a horrific murder brings Lacey to the breaking point, she makes a ruthless choice that will haunt her for decades. As an adult, Lacey mimics a normal life as a law clerk for an illustrious judge. She has a beautiful girlfriend, a measure of security, and the world has mostly forgotten about her. But after a tiny misstep spirals into an uncontrolled legal disaster, the hysteria threatens to begin all over again. Like I said, this book had me at Satanic Panic, and I have heard that it's pretty good. We'll keep you updated. Okay, so the next book we picked up, and this one, if you've been around the channel, I may have mentioned before how I am drawn to titles that have like celestial objects in them. So this one is called Moon of the Turning Leaves by Wabgishig Rice. And I read the title, stars on the cover, and I was like, well, and the moon too. Yes, obviously, moon in the title, moon on the cover. So let's tell you a little bit about it. For the past 12 years, a community of the Anishinaabe have made the northern Ontario bush their home, in the wake of the power failure that brought about societal collapse. Since then, they have survived and thrived the way their ancestors once did, but their natural food resources are dwindling, and the time has come to find a new home. Evan Whitesky volunteers to lead a mission south to explore the possibility of moving back to their original homeland, the land where the birch trees grow by the big water in the Great Lakes region. Accompanied by 5 others, including his daughter, Nangones, an expert archer, Evan begins a journey that will take him to where the Anishinaabe were once settled, near the devastated city of Gibson, a land now being reclaimed by nature. But it isn't just the wilderness that poses a threat. They encounter other survivors, those who, like the Anishinaabe, live in harmony with the land, and those who use violence. And I thought that sounded like it'd be pretty interesting, and yeah, I read a couple pages. I like the style of the writing. So looking forward to reading Moon of the Turning Leaves. Yeah, so I've been enjoying my week in books currently. Like I said, I really liked The Woods All Black by Lee Mandello. That was great. How to Solve Your Own Murder. That's what I'm going to be doing with the rest of my evening. Well, not solving my own murder. Reading that book. I made one of these videos recently, and I had been reading a book prior, and I literally didn't want to stop reading the book to record videos, and I felt the same way again tonight. So, you know it's got to be good if I am like, I don't want to record videos, I just want to read this book. It's super good. I'll probably be sad when it's over, and like I said, no idea who the freaking murderer is. But we're going to find out. Got my notepad and writing down my suspicions, but like there's so many people that it could be. It's hard. So look for a standalone review of that coming in the future. I used to love mysteries so much growing up, and I don't read them enough. A lot of times I'll read them and I find myself being disappointed because a lot of them are really easy to guess who the perpetrator of the murder is. Like, sometimes it's just too easy, and maybe that's from over the years reading a lot of mysteries and whatnot. But that's why I'm loving it. I'm halfway in and still no freaking clue who the heck has done it. That's it and that's all. So, what have you guys been reading recently that you have enjoyed? Do you have any mystery books that you like absolutely love? I'm always looking for some good mysteries. Let me know down in the comments. And if you're a fan of videos where I talk about multiple things I am reading or have read, next video coming up will be about that. So stick around, check it out. And if you had fun hanging out today, hit that subscribe button, come back, see me again, and we'll talk about more bookish things and weird stuff.